Yeah, late night for me last night. Stayed up and watched the debate, and a bit feisty debate, I'd say. A little bit of a feisty debate. And I'm going to be honest, I think that I was happy to see them covering various different issues, things that are actually important. And I do believe that it was a much more substantive debate that Donald Trump was not there. But, we'll talk about that a little bit. I want to go through right now various different topics that were covered. Now, again, inflation being one. It's interesting. They do these man on the street interviews and polling, and they talk to American people. And what's most important to everybody out there is what they're spending on groceries, what they're spending on electricity, what they're spending on gasoline. All of these things are incredibly important. It was touched on yesterday. Quite frankly, they didn't delve into it deep enough. And I'm going to, throw some shade at, Brett Baer and Martha McCallum, who really should have followed up on this because it's really what's most important. We've got to fundamentally teach the American people. And that was brought up too, is basically selling ideas to the American people and teaching them where does inflation come from? How is this possible? The fact that we've got this, ridiculous debt overhang, deficits that are as far as the eye could see. And, again, the feisty part was, again, you saw some of the candidates actually point out saying, hey, listen, I'm going to give Vivek credit. Okay. Pointing out the various different candidates. You guys have been here. You voted for all of this damn spending. You allowed for all of this to take place. And good point. And he's right. And I've talked about that before here on the program. And I left the Republican Party. This middle part of Bush's second term, I just got sick and tired of all the BS, sick and tired of the bridges to nowhere, all of the pork barrel spending, all of the entitlement. They brought all that stuff back. Republicans have brought all of that stuff back. Talk about all of these spending bills that they signed off on. I'm yelling and screaming about this late last fall. The omnibus spending bill, where you get all the Republicans saying, oh, yeah, they got to get their spending. They got to send their money back to their districts. It's disgusting. It really is. And this is why we're paying these ridiculous prices. We cannot continue to print money like we have been. We cannot continue to have the government spend haphazardly. Again, I was glad to see this as well. And again, another shot to, Vivek, also Ron DeSantis, basically saying, hey, listen, this is a shot at Pence and the Trump administration. You hired what I've been saying. You hired Fauci. You kept him on. You were on the podium with Fauci every damn day because you couldn't get enough damn TV time. You shut down the economy. You allowed for businesses to be wrecked. You allowed for all of this spending to take place. The buck stops with you, Donald. And I was glad that they pointed that out, and good for Ron DeSantis in doing so. Still, you saw that many of the candidates, quite frankly, they weren't ready or they weren't willing to go there, which was unfortunate. Another topic that is obviously of, great importance to Americans is the border and immigration. And I want to start off with the ridiculous. Okay. Chris Christie was asked about this and what he would do and what he would get done. And they were talking about, I think it was Martha McCallum asked him about, what about the tens of millions of people that are here already? And he's like, well, you got people wanting to come here from all over the globe. And, you got to send all of these people back. Yeah, maybe if you had, the Infinity Gauntlet from the Avengers and you could snap your fingers and make everybody go back to their home country, that might be possible. But in the real world, it isn't. It isn't possible. It's not close to being possible. And again, this kind of delves into also, some of the debates that they were having in regards to foreign policy. The fact that, you had, Vivek and Ron DeSantis to some degree pushing back against this proxy war in the Ukraine. And, make no bones about it, it is a proxy war. Okay. I know you get the Wall Street Journal editorial board and all these people rah-rahing, oh, this is something we've got to do. But, Ramaswamy was right. He was, basically sticking it to some of the politicians up there, their ties to some of these defense contractors. How is it not a proxy war that we're fighting half-ass? It's like, okay, another 20 billion here, another 15 billion here. Oh yeah, we authorized these tanks, but they haven't been delivered. We authorized these airplanes, but they haven't been delivered. Yeah, I know our allies in Europe. I know the Dutch, was it F-16s were supposed to be delivered? No, not until late 2024. They're going to get those planes. What? Again, what you're seeing is this, and what a proxy war is. It's just like, hey, let's just try to wear down the Russians as much as we can, get them to spend and grind this meat grinder that needs to stop at some point in time. And that's, what, in my opinion, what real leadership is going to take is you got to, at some point in time, you have to put an end to this. Ramaswamy talked about Europeans. DeSantis talking about Europeans actually doing more. Ramaswamy was hitting on the fact that saying we're spending all of this money there and we're not spending it here at home. We're not strong here at home. We've got a border that's wide open that needs to be dealt with. And I think, quite frankly, that resonates with many Americans. Yeah, I know. You had the usual folks up there and Putin is evil and Putin is a tyrant. And Christie went on this long rant about eyes being gouged out and ears being cut off and kids being, the usual thing where, yep, we're America. We're America. We can do all this at the same time. Guess what? Maybe we could have. Maybe we could have back in the day when we weren't $30+ trillion in debt, but we are. We're a bit hamstrung at this point in time. That's just the reality. I remember, I don't remember what member of the military, Joint Chiefs talked about this years ago. Our greatest national security concern is our debt. No. And again, Pence was talking about this too. We can do, it's America. We can do everything. Well, sure. Just keep printing, Mike. Just keep printing because, we're sending billions everywhere. And again, we have issues with our foreign policy. There's no doubt about it. It's something that needs, to be dealt with. In regards to, again, they spent some time talking about abortion, what happened with the repeal of Roe versus Wade. And I like what Doug Burgum had to say. I like he pulled out his little pocket constitution that everybody should have. And, he pointed out saying, hey, listen, I said, you can't have it two ways. You wanted this thrown back to the states, and now you want it thrown back to the federal government. And again, I understood some of the points that Tim Scott talked about in regards to abortion and the amount of time, and can't we come up with some sort of standard nationally? I get that. It's a debate that needs to be had, but again, that needs to be explained to everyone that's out there, because this has been a major loser for the Republican Party since since it was repealed. Again, you can't have it both ways, and you're going to let certain states decide and what they're going to do, even despite the fact just how vile they might be. Trump. I was glad to see that the candidates were just like, he's not here. Okay, this has got to be about the issues of the day. Why do we need to discuss this? I know Brett Baer pushed back saying, well, he's leading in the polls. He was actually throwing it back at DeSantis to some degree. He's like, oh, he's leading in the polls. And because he's leading the polls, it's something that we need to talk about. Again, what did they ask the question? They asked the question in regards to, would you vote for Donald Trump if he ends up getting the nomination? And I'm going to be honest, I was a little, it was funny. You saw hands go up kind of halfway. Vivek raised his hand high in the air, and that's something that I happen to disagree with him on. I made that perfect. I'm not, Trump gets a nomination. I'm not voting. I don't care. I'm not voting for this guy again. I can't vote for somebody that is not willing to lead on important issues, things that are, right there in front of us, like the national debt. I can't vote for somebody that, screwed up COVID as bad as he did. I can't vote for somebody who still thinks that, tariffs are the way to go, when we've already got inflation running hot and it's going to make prices go up even further for Americans. I can't vote for that. It doesn't make any sense to me. But again, you saw the candidates up there kind of half, some of them raising their hand, some, half-ass raising their hand that they're going to vote for Trump. I don't know. I can't see this country, pulling out of the tailspin. If this is the case, I really can't. One more thing I wanted to touch on. With immigration. Vivek, he took my idea. And I've been touting this idea for a very long period of time. The fact that it was not just immigration, it was education as well. Because, again, that was another topic, talking about just how bad our schools are at this point in time. And the failure of our schools, and the fact that Vivek brought up the same thing that I said. I said, you know what, you can't vote unless you can pass a basic citizenship test. I've been talking about that for years, and I've taken it much further than Vivek. I don't believe you should vote if you're living on any sort of government assistance and getting handouts and giveaways. But if you can't pass a basic citizenship test by the time you graduate high school, why in the world should you? We're going to let you vote? I mean, it's not that hard. It really isn't. It's not that difficult. It's something that even if you're not a history buff, you can study for it, for an hour or two in the afternoon and pass if you really want to. Not that hard. So I did like that he said that. And again, talking about education and just how bad it's been. Again, tie this into ridiculous COVID lockdowns and what this has done, and going after the teachers' unions and how powerful they've become. Again, school choice is a big topic right now in this country. And a lot of parents out there, they want to be able to. And again, I've always been a follow the money guy. I said, let the money follow the students around. Your district is going to spend X amount of dollars per student. If the parent would rather not send them to the public school and rather send them to the local Catholic school, Jewish school, I don't care. It doesn't make a difference to me. Charter school, let the money follow the kid. And then guess what? You get competition. And you get schools competing against one another, and competition breeds excellence. That's the last thing in the world that the teachers' unions want at this point in time. Again, that's another important topic here in this country. And again, kind of, I guess where I was kind of, I'm siding. I'm realistic here. I don't subscribe to the, whole America, number one in everything. No, we're not number. We're number one in a lot of bad things at this point in time. And again, I got to hand it to Vivek. He pointed this out. Not afraid to point out the fact that we need to basically hit the reset button in many respects, as far as our culture, as far as society has come. Talked about his 10 commandments that he actually listed during his closing statement. And one of those things as well is the importance of the nuclear family, and that being the most important, in essence, we'll talk a governmental unit that's out there. And, actually pointed out, saying, the demise of the nuclear family, the giving more money to, incentivizing single moms rather than having two parents in a household. And again, he's not wrong. And he's actually coming out and willing to say things that a lot of people are, quite frankly, afraid to say. And, again, that's why I think he really did stand out. People are going to ask that, who are your choices? Who do you think really stood out in the debate? I think Vivek did a great job. I think DeSantis had some really good points, and he made some good statements, but he just doesn't seem that comfortable up there. I wish that he would I don't know who's handling him. They do debate prep and all of this stuff. Sometimes you see people up there, it's almost like they're grasping for what their handlers told them and, how I should go about answering the question rather than just answering it. Be yourself. Be yourself. Just go up there. There's nothing wrong. If you know your material, just go up there and shoot from the hip. If you screw up from time, it's going to happen. You're going to be talking a lot on the campaign trail. I don't like the whole pre-programmed crap. And again, you had, Chris Christie, obviously, he was going after Trump, but he also had it in for Vivek and, had and it was an obviously pre-prepared line saying that he sounds like Chat GPT. And again, a lot of people, he really roundhoused him there. Do you think that bothered Vivek in the slightest? Did anybody throw him off at all? And what was the other thing he was talking about? Compared Vivek to Barack Obama. He said, the last time we had somebody that was skinny up here with a funny name, it was Barack Obama. I'm like, really? Last time I checked, you were running against Barack Obama too, Chris, and you got your ass kicked in the Republican debate where the Republicans decided to put up wet noodle Mitt Romney, who got his butt kicked by Barack Obama. One of the worst run campaigns I've ever seen in my entire life, next to John McCain. It's how pathetic it was. Nikki Haley, again, the stupid one-liner that she had saved up, and you knew it was obvious, the Margaret Thatcher line. But where she had some good points, but certain things there, I cannot go along. I cannot go along with her foreign policy. I really can't. At some point in time, and again, like Vivek pointed that out as well, forever wars, went back, talked about war on terror, Iraq, Vietnam, pointed that out. I think people have had enough. Mike Pence, I'm trying to get through it all, people. I'm sorry. Mike Pence, he's been there. He's done that. And he played the whole rah-rah America, we can do anything type of a situation. And again, I like to think that we could do everything. But if you'd like to do everything, you've obviously got to get we obviously got to get our shit together, and our shit's not together. And, he can talk about, very proud of our record during the Trump administration. So how could you be proud of your COVID record? How could you be proud of all of the spending that you engaged in? I'd actually support the guy to a greater degree if it actually said we screwed up. I'm just the vice, and again, I was just the vice president of the United States. I didn't make these decisions, even though, again, this is, he was part of that COVID task force last time I checked, which was obviously an absolute disaster. An absolute disaster. Talking about cleanup on aisle 12. We're still cleaning up that mess. We're going to be cleaning up that mess for a long, long time. So, Pence, and then you got the guys that, quite frankly, Asa Hutchinson, it almost like, he fell out of like Jeb Bush's closet or something like that. He's kind of like, they remember there was the Trump used to call him low energy Jeb. Asa's, are you serious, man? He's a swamp thing. I can't even believe he's running. Tim Scott, I thought he was great. Very, very likable guy. Had some great points that were there. I don't see it. I don't see it. You got to kind of have to stake out a better claim if lack of a better phrase in regards to it. And Burgum, he wasn't great up there, but he's a very accomplished guy and did make some good points. So do I think that some of these people could be helpful in an administration down the road? Yeah, I do. Again, I'll be disappointed at some point in time. Like I said, if Vivek wants to take that next step, he's going to eventually have to start taking on Donald Trump. And again, we're going to kind of see, where his true colors are. I love his points. I love his energy. I love the things that he's saying. But unless he starts, really going after Trump and differentiating himself from Trump, he talks about, one of the things he said, he wants to pardon Donald Trump if he's elected president because he wants to help bring the country together. I think on the same thing, you probably have to, and I think he said this. I think he said he's going to pardon Trump. He's going to pardon Biden's and just, try to get over all of this nonsense. And there's something to be said for that. I don't know if I necessarily agree with it, but he's going to have to break away to some degree. DeSantis is going to have to, fire the consultants and all the people that are telling him what to do and just be yourself out there. But overall, there was some different, it was good to see the candidates on various different issues, and you could see how they were different from one another. And, I'm going to be curious to see how this all comes out in the polls over the next couple weeks. I didn't pay attention. The only thing I got out of, Donald Trump being on Tucker, I was reading about it this morning, is now he's proposing some sort of 10% tariff on anything that is made outside of the United States. 10%, anything that's made outside of the United States, he wants to slap a 10% tariff on. And I'm saying to myself, you really want to do this to countries that are our allies? Does it really make sense? And do you really think you're hurting those companies and countries, or are you hurting the American people who are already paying high prices? Okay, we dealt with this tariff, man. I was speaking with home builders who, were paying ridiculous prices for siding for homes because it was coming from Canada, and Trump slapped tariffs on that. So who paid for it? Did the companies pay for it, or did Americans pay for it? And again, Trump can't get that through his thick head. But I'll go back and I'll try to see what Trump had to say during his little Tucker Carlson thing. But do I think that he wimped out? People are asking me that question. Yes, I do. He wimped out. And don't give me, if you're in my position, you wouldn't do it. No. If I was in your position, I'd still do it. Because, again, I have a little courage of your convictions, belief in your ideals. If you believe in them that great, go up there and have at it there, big guy. Anyway, WatchDog on WallStreet.com.